All
Yeah.
right, awesome. So we're now recording. Pepe, yeah, thanks for connecting with me today about this bill to legalize cannabis in Mexico. You have some really interesting insights. I'd love if you could share that with me.
Yeah. Well, I guess a lot of things have happened since you went to the planton,
Yeah.
the camp. Um, for one thing, I lit up a joint inside Congress, inside the Senate.
Oh, wow.
So obviously that was interesting. But before I did that, I basically presented the law. And I told them that it was very hard for press and for senators to understand that this is an issue, a human rights issue.
Uh-huh.
And so what we did was basically, we thought we needed a visual. So what we did is we put on a coat and we basically put up a band. And what we're saying is that basically the planton is a ghetto. Why? Because it's going to be the only place where you can smoke other than your house. That's if you have a house, because that's one of the requirements. If you don't have a house, or if you don't have enough money to have a club, then you can't smoke anywhere.
Oh, I see.
They're saying that they're making two types of THC, basically. They're making one that's for the market, which is okay. They're making another one which is much more dangerous, which is a home grow. You can't take any product of the home grow outside of your house. You can't take, basically, what they're saying is by law right now, you would be allowed to take 5 grams. And what you're going to be hearing on the papers is that they're saying that you can carry 28 to 200 grams. But that's only if you buy it in the market. Why? Well, we're asking for is basically a home grow. We're asking for cultivation that's not intended to make money. It's sin fines de lucro.
Oh, so you're saying the policy is shaped to favor like big industry and people can't grow on their own, and poor people obviously won't be able to afford the cannabis. So they can't go to home, they can't smoke it on their balcony. Like it's completely discriminatory. I see.
But see, the thing is, if you would say you can only smoke in your house, that would definitely be discriminatory, right?
Right.
So what you say is, no, you can't smoke here, you can't smoke there, you can't smoke here, you can't smoke there either, or there, or here, right? And just to make sure, we're getting at another clause, which basically says, if you're not happy with the way cannabis smokes, right, and you and I are sharing a house, you basically get a number which you can call, and then police are going to show up to your house, and they're basically make you stop smoking, even though the other person's smoking a cigarette right in front of your face. That is differentiated treatment. That is basically unjustified, and that is the 2 elements for discrimination, right?
Yeah.
But the most important thing is this. Remember I told you last time that the reason why we're regulating here isn't because of a ballot initiative, right? It's because it's court ordered. The Supreme Court ordered it, right? And they basically said there were 5 articles of the health law which were unconstitutional, right? Because specifically they violated our rights to fully develop our personality, which is a human right.
Right.
Like that. You can put it in quotes, right?
Right.
It's not asking you to regulate and protect your right to develop your personality. The key word is freely. It's a question of freedom, right?
Yeah.
So if cultivation isn't free, if it's not meant for the market, it's just meant for yourself.
Right.
Then your personality isn't free. If possession isn't free, right? If you're limited, then the right to personality isn't free. And what we're saying is that you have to change this into a question of human rights, right? What are human rights? Human rights are the rights to protect your dignity, right? And that one of the things that human rights talks about is basically non-discrimination, talks about segregation. No, you're not allowed to segregate anybody. And what they're doing is they're creating a segregation within the whole country. Because the only place where you're going to be able to smoke is our park.
Right.
The only place where you won't be able to be checked by attack dogs, is our park. Right? Because it's a stop and frisk, basically.
Right.
The only place where we'd be able to see more than 8 plants growing without a permit, where nature's going to be free, is our park. Right?
Or you said the other places are the clubs, or where people can go buy the cannabis. Are they able to smoke there?
It's because clubs kind of like Spain or like Uruguay, right?
Uh-huh.
What happens is basically you have to get together, but only 20 people. There's more
Right.
than 20 people, and that's organized crime. Okay? Why?
Wow.
That's criminalizing users, and that's criminalizing association. You have a
Yeah.
right to association, right? No, you have a right to freely associate,
Yeah.
right? Because otherwise, you can tell, yeah, sure, you can get together, but no protesting, because only like no more than 100 people on the streets.
Right.
No,
Right.
it's the same thing. Why are they giving us clubs with only 20 people? Well, what we're doing is legitimate, because the court already said the consumption of cannabis is not a problem for public
Right.
health, individual
Right.
health, or public order, right? That's what it
Right.
says in the court. So what they should have done is basically they should have grabbed Article 245, which is interesting because it's something that's going to be important for you guys too, okay? And what happens? It had to grab 245, and that's the scheduling article.
Uh-huh.
So we have scheduling just like you guys have.
Right.
And so basically, everybody in the world has scheduling.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Basically, it's one article. You get to find it. Right? And what you're going to ask is basically, you get to tell them, listen, we know the cannabis isn't a threat, right? And you get to reschedule it. And once you reschedule it, and you put it in number 4, which is basically saying it's not a health to public health. It's not a threat to public health.
Right.
And it's got like great therapeutic value, right?
Right.
And so once you do that, public policy that follows has to be congruent with what you just said, right?
Right.
Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. What
Right.
they're doing here is they're basically just renaming and changing the address of prohibition. You're trying to grab, basically you're saying, we're going to change prohibition, which is in 245 in the scheduling.
Uh-huh.
We're going to take it out, right?
Right.
And then basically we're going to create this other law, which is a law which they renamed at the last moment to include the word control, right?
Uh-huh.
That cannabis control law. And basically here, I don't have to justify the treatment that I give you. I don't have to justify why I'm only giving you 4 plants. I don't have to justify why you can only carry 28 grams or you can't carry anything that you created in your house, right?
Right.
That's differentiated treatment, right?
Right.
Because you're telling me this is a substance which should be regulated here, but just take it out, right, and leave it here. But then you do another thing. This law is going to have an institute that's going to be regulating cannabis, right? Yeah. It's going to be doing basically, it's going to be creating and regulating limitations, basically is what we're doing. Right. But every limitation that you give me, which is unjustified, takes away my dignity.
Yeah.
That's basically it. And so
the ideal way that you would have liked to see this roll out, or you want to see it amended, is for home grow, and then to be able to possess and to be able to consume where you live. Those would be the big amendments that would make this less of a human rights violation and more of
what we had before when you visited the camp. We were basically saying that we had 4 demands, right? And they'll give them to you in Spanish and they'll give them to you in English. Cultivo libre, posesión libre, espacios compartidos en igualdad y un trato digno. Okay? So, home grow cultivation has to be free. Free home grow, if it's not meant for the market, right? But there's another type of grow which is not meant for the market, which is basically associated cultivation, right? Associated cultivation basically says you are an NGO, right? Asociación Civil, you would say in Spanish. And this is basically meant not to make a profit. It's a nonprofit, basically. So if you're a nonprofit, that's basically a club, and you get basically growing for the people, right? For the people, the associated people, then that's okay because you're not sharing outside, right? So there's no way for you to make a profit. It's home growing isn't for profit because you can't sell for yourself to yourself. Right. It's like, oh, I'm going to buy myself some product for myself. It's like, no, that's right. So we're asking for those 2 things. It's not for profit, right? Right. Because we're not interested. What we're saying is what we're saying in the camp. You see me or not?
Yeah. Primero derechos, después el mercado. Oh, first our rights, then the market.
Yes.
I like that.
So basically we're saying home grow first, non-for-profit first is what we're saying. Right? Why? Because we can't compete with the lobbyists for the market.
Right.
We can't ask the senators to go out and have dinner with us. Right? We can't do
Right.
that. But see, the interesting thing is this. Remember how I said we had this law, which is basically regulating the recreational market? Because what they're regulating is adult use, but they define it as recreational or ludico, for play. That's discriminatory by itself. Okay?
Right.
But then they say, oh, but the pharmaceuticals, they're not going to be in this law. They're not going to ask for permits. It's not going to apply for them.
Right.
There's not going to be any type of limitations. Why?
Right.
Because they're still going to be over here. They're being regulated by this law, not this one.
Right.
So if it's differentiated treatment, it can be negative or it can be positive. When it's positive, it could be seen as corruption, right?
So
why are you giving us different types of THC definitions? You're saying one for pharmaceuticals, one for the recreational market, and one for users. And the users have the most dangerous one because you can't even take it out of your house, right?
Wow.
And so what we're saying is this: we're done with all the bullshit. The Supreme Court ordered you to change 245. The other thing that happened is basically, which is very interesting, and this is why a lot of people are confused. Towards the end, media changed the debate, or they simplified it, okay? And then towards the end, it was whether you were in favor or against the bill. In favor of cannabis or against cannabis. And you should have been in favor of human rights. Or against them, right? And there was only one speech that voted against the bill for the right reasons. One speech.
Wow. So do you think there's an argument to be made, like, is it better not to pass this and do it right the first time? Or do you think there's an argument to be made that, like, we got this far and maybe we could, this is the first step, but like in the wrong direction though? I can totally see that,
But the thing is, let's say for example that I crash your car, right? And basically the court orders me to fix your car. And I show up and I give you a motorcycle. You buy the deadline that the court ordered. Yeah, sure, but that doesn't no. Not acceptable, right? So basically what we're saying is that court ordered you to change 245, right? And basically they ordered you to regulate free development of your personality, right? What are you regulating? You're not regulating.
So this obviously really limits how accessible cannabis will be, right? It's not very accessible for poor people at all.
No, at all.
And they'll still get in trouble for it. They'll still get incarcerated for if they try to partake in it.
They're saying you can't take any plant out of your house. How are they going to tell the difference between a plant that you grow in your house and a plant that you bought commercially?
Only if you probably have the packaging and stuff from the shop, I guess, and it's sealed. I don't know.
And you don't think that people who use homegrown don't use packaging from other places? So like, oh, I want to carry this. Let's take this little bag with it.
I mean, that's what I would. Yeah, that's what I would do. Like to get around it.
Say, oh, but you have to have it sealed. Yeah. What makes you think the cop isn't going to just open it in front of you? So, oh, you have this open in public.
Oh yeah. I guess you're right. There's it's already structured in that way to be oppressive from the start. Then it's free range from there, right? Yeah.
So what I said is basically this: the difference between you guys and us is this court ordered, right?
Right.
So basically, I have an injunction. Remember, I told you that.
Right.
That's why I smoked in front of the Senate. I lit up and I basically told them, listen, you trying to regulate privileges. I'll show you what a privilege is right now, because the Senate has refused to legislate.
Right.
Regulates not smoking within public places is basically the tobacco law. This isn't tobacco.
Right.
This doesn't apply to us. And the second thing is this. My injunction is against the health law. So those laws, 245, etc., don't apply to me. So the only thing that had to happen is I had to ask for permission. And I asked twice, does anybody have an issue with me medicating myself here in this open space? Nobody said no, which is what my permit says. So I lit up, right? In front of yeah.
Inside?
And so basically, that was one thing that happened. The other thing that happened is towards the end of the
inside.
Well, basically, there's this part. I remember if you remember it, but basically the Senate goes, somewhere like this.
Uh-huh.
And basically in the middle, there's basically like a round thing, and this is open
Right.
building, right? So this
Uh-huh.
part basically is where the press conference was. So it's open space.
Okay.
I wouldn't have lit up inside.
Right.
Well, it should have been. I could have as well. The idea is to
Right.
smoke within a place where you can smoke. I thought the scene
Right.
was actually the tobacco law talks about 100% free smoke spaces,
Right.
and not all public buildings were. So I
Right.
thought there wasn't going to be any place, but when I was going to say, can I lit up? It's, oh yeah, but it's this way. Like I thought, what? I thought you couldn't. Like, but they basically decided by themselves that we're going to have a place where you could actually smoke cigarettes. So why can't I make it where you lit up?
Right.
And then the other thing
Yeah.
is that I had a friend with me who's a patient. Why can't I share my medicine?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? That's a limitation that it's unjustified because it's not dangerous. So the first thing you had to do is you had to end the lie, right?
Yeah, it's not like you're sharing pills, or like dangerous drugs that could cause overdose. So fair
and
enough.
that's what we're saying. The difference between cigarettes and cannabis is that you don't medicate with a Marlboro.
Yeah, I know you don't.
I'm not going to give you like a prescription for that.
Right.
But I will give you one for cannabis, for
Right.
buds as well, Bedrocan,
Right.
in Holland, right? So
Right.
why should I be able to medicate?
Yeah.
Basically, it's that. And so basically, what happened is towards the end of the end game, when they went to go and vote, a pack of about 67 senators came down to the planton, and they said, "Oh, we came down here because they told us we could have a little plant for our debate." Like, sorry, but no. I mean, we have two demands if you want the plants.
Right.
One thing is, what we're saying is you are going to vote in favor of this, but we said we don't want you to vote in favor of this. So
Right.
what we want is we want you to do two things. We want you to change 245 in the health law. We want you to schedule THC in 245.4, numeral 4. The second thing that we want you to do is change what you're regulating in the control law. Because as what I said, what they're regulating is adult use for recreational, for play, right? Which is discriminatory. So what you should be regulating is responsible personal use, right? And why those words? Because personal use is not the same thing as individual use. Personal use is any use that you can use for the free development of your personality. Right? That includes recreational, that includes medicinal.
Right.
And what the media hasn't been able to understand is that we're not in favor of you regulating recreational use because that's discriminatory. We're not in favor of you regulating medicinal use because that's discriminatory as well.
Right.
What we're asking you to do is regulate personal use. Why responsible? Because responsible personal use excludes use by minors.
Right? Oh, okay. To prohibit minors from using it.
And that basically is what the court ordered you to do. It wasn't ordering you to control things. It was ordering you to guarantee liberties.
Right.
How do you guarantee liberties? By ending discrimination. How do you end discrimination? By changing 245 into something that's reasonable.
So it wasn't ordering you to control things, it was ordering you to, what did you say?
Say that again?
You said it wasn't ordering you to control things, it was ordering you to
regulate liberties. Guarantee liberties, basically.
Guarantee liberties, yeah, that's what it was.
Right. And how do you guarantee liberties?
Right.
It's a very completely different law to guarantee liberty, right? Which basically would mean, listen, THC is this dangerous to society.
Right.
The lie has been this. The stigma has been, and we've been lying to you for 100 years. Because when we prohibited cannabis in Mexico, we basically said that it was prohibited because it was a substance that degenerated the race. That's what the law says. So that makes me a second-class citizen because I'm a degenerate.
Right.
I'm not a second-class citizen. I'm not a degenerate.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, man. Literally, no one has talked about it like this. I'm sure you've read all the coverage, and it's all
everything is being lost, basically.
Flowery, you know, like.
Exactly. So that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be doing like basically a video in English, explaining why everybody has a 245.
Everybody what?
Everybody has a 245.
What does that mean?
You guys have a 245 in the States. What's the article in the Controlled Substance Act that creates scheduling? What is the article? Can you send that to me?
Sorry, what's your question?
Can you send that to me? The article?
Oh, when I write this?
No, basically, can you ask somebody, like a drug specialist in Controlled Substance Act in the States?
Oh, okay, yeah,
ask them, what is your 245 in the States?
Okay.
Yeah, because that's what you guys have to ask as well.
Gotcha.
And so basically, not only that, I'm going to be figuring that out because I study international relations. But basically, I got to figure out, I got to go look into the drug conventions. There's 245 there too. The reason why they're telling us you can't change 245 because if you change it 245 here, then you can't commerce because of the UN conventions. It's not about human rights. It's about money.
Wait.
So what I'm going to be asking to the Supreme Court, because I have an injunction, I want you to change 245, and I want you to denounce as a country that treaty, because that treaty isn't a human rights treaty, and what's above that treaty is the human rights conventions, and that basically is discriminatory. And so basically, those are going to be your two demands, because it's not a question of giving us a couple of plants. It's not a question of giving us a couple of grams.
What are the two demands specifically?
There's three demands. So basically, one, reschedule THC in 245.4.
Right.
Which basically declares that it's not a threat to society.
Right. Makes it Schedule 4 basically.
Because everything has to be rational from there, right?
Right.
And it has to be congruent with what you just said. Two, you have to change basically in the control law what you're scheduling, what you're regulating. You're not regulating adult use, which is what it says right there. It had definitions for different things of regulating, right?
Right.
One of them is adult use, is what they say they're regulating. And adult use basically is defined as for play or recreational, right? It's not that what we want. We want you to change adult use for responsible personal use, right? And the third thing we're going to be asking, which is I haven't heard about this, is we want you to change the treaties. We want you to denounce them. We want you to say that publicly, because this is a question of reparations, basically. It's a question of transitional justice, which is something that they haven't heard about either. But what we're saying is discrimination, and it's of 100 years. That's where we're going to be keeping the park, because we want a place to show people what discrimination looks like, what segregation looks like.
Yeah.
Because otherwise,
that's really cool.
They want us to hide it. They want to hide us in the houses, right? Where you might not even be able to smoke, because they have a number that you can call police on. You can call police on you, right?
Yeah, that's so messed up.
We're second-class citizens is what they're saying.
Right.
Not because of what the religion that we profess.
Right.
Not because of the color of our skin, but because of the substance.
Right.
To use.
Oh man, that's powerful stuff, Pepe. Thanks. I appreciate the scoop. I'm gonna get this whipped up right away, and I'll send you over the article when it's done. I can, I'll send you a ping about a quote when I have a chance to look this over. Otherwise, if you have a quote that you wanna provide me, then just send it to me on Facebook Messenger, and then I'll use that, copy and paste, and use it directly.
Let me think. Well, I can't think of anything else. I'm hoping that it'll be enough, and I'll be doing more of a storyline for the official video we're doing for the movements. It'll be in English as well. So if you want to point that out later on, then
I will.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome, Pepe. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Yeah. Talk to you soon, my friend.
So people don't know the context. I mean, you already have this, but basically, this is a video. But in case they want to know, explain that basically we've been outside the center for 10 months. So that's the interesting thing. There's been a lot of us out there. But I'm the only one that has an injunction, so I can prove that I'm one of the main people affected by this law.
Yeah,
because it's supposed to be changing because of what I did, right?
Right.
They're going to be changing that, and they're going to be giving me a law that discriminates, and it gives me less rights than I already have. because my injunction doesn't give me a limit into how many plants I can have. It doesn't give me a limit as to how many ounces I can carry.
You can
So
carry
why
as
are
much
you
as
gonna
you want to.
I can carry as much as I want to.
So
Court wouldn't be telling you like you can't carry, you can only carry this much.
right,
They don't care about that. It's a question of limitations, not ounces. It's not a
right,
question.
right,
It's a question of liberties, not plans,
right.
right? It's not up to them to decide. But basically, that what they did say is that this isn't a threat. There's no justification for the absolute prohibition of those plants. There's no justification for the treatment that you're giving people who use those plants.
What
Right?
scheduling would it change to right now if the current law passes?
See, the discrimination started even beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
Started in 2017. Why? 245 for substances, right? And what they did in order to be able to have medicinal cannabis is they regulated microdoses.
What?
Yeah. So basically, they split up THC into two schedules.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And so they put it in. If you have any product or any plant that has less than 1% in THC,
Yeah.
that's basically in Schedule 4. Mm-hmm. If you have plants that has more than 1% THC, or any product that has more than 1% THC, that's Schedule 2. That's still a great threat to society.
Oh, so it's like kind of like how we do hemp and marijuana, but worse. Like even less.
The thing is here, the thing is the different ways of suing. The thing is this: the Supreme Court, when they decided the cannabis wasn't a threat, they talked basically about they used the definition that was in the health law, which is broad. Why broad? Because they didn't want you to have any way to actually have access to the plant, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, how broad was it? Were we talking about the flowers, the resins, or the preparations?
Right.
So that includes distillates, that includes
Right.
extracts, rosin, anything you want, right?
Right.
Why the court isn't saying there's good plant, bad plant, good THC, bad THC. How can you have everything? It's not a threat to society, right?
Right.
So that's where the discrimination starts. Don't tell me this is a good dose and a bad dose. If you want to do that, you can do microdoses of everything that's on that list.
Right. Yeah. Sure.
You want to go, you want to walk that road.
Yeah.
So basically, what you have to do, the ethical thing. Regulate THC, as the court said. Right? It's not a threat to society. So those 5 articles create a system of prohibition, of administrative prohibition, which is unjustified, which is unconstitutional. You got to change that. Right?
Yeah.
You guarantee. Doesn't mean it's not asking you to give us plants. It's asking you to guarantee the free development of personality, which is different.
I like that the most. The free. I would think I'm going to harp on that. Make it the central point of this, because that's what I got across from you. You know that they don't. The way the laws currently are now, they don't allow for freely cultivating your personality. And it's cool that they use the word cultivation because.
And it's also not. It's not only a question about liberty.
Right.
It's about equality.
Right.
What were the
obviously
what were the three elements of the French Revolution?
I don't know.
Fraternité, égalité, and liberté. Equality, liberty, and freedom.
Nice. Yeah.
So basically, yeah. I want the freedom to grow it. I don't want to grow it.
Right. And this does nothing for reparations or any of the people that have been harmed by the oppressive laws up until this point at all. Like,
especially because it continues with prohibition.
Right.
Violate our human rights. The difference is that I think you can check that as well, but the states. But at least when I studied international relations, we used to say that you guys haven't signed the human rights conventions.
Right.
You guys talk about them, but you haven't signed them. So that means that you don't have to guarantee your citizens human rights. We have more than 180 human rights conventions we signed, which is the same level as the Constitution by our Constitution. Right? Your conventions aren't there. Your conventions are international conventions that are not human rights conventions. They're down here. They don't even talk about human rights. When you look at the human rights conventions and how they start, they talk about literally evil versus good.
Yeah.
That's what it's. You can quote that from the conventions. And so.
Wow.
Right? And so what we're saying is this: 100 years ago, no, there wasn't any human rights conventions. But we've got them now.
Right.
And we know what our rights are.
Right.
So we're not gonna like put up with this. And so what we're saying is this: the Senate should have approved. See, the mandate by the court wasn't for the Senate; it's for Congress, for both the houses.
Right.
So they have a deadline, which is coming up, which is the 15th of December.
Yeah. Oh, so it's the 15th of December. That's the deadline. Okay, I meant to ask you that. I gotta get a quiet keyboard next time I get a computer. I know the clacking must be super loud.
I can't hear anything. I can't hear anything over here.
Oh, okay, that's good. That's great. Okay, 15th December. So you think before I hop off with you, you think it's not going to pass? But if it does, you guys are going to sue, or do you think it's going to pass?
Basically, we're going to sue. Instead, like our injunction isn't going to be against the health law now. It's
Right.
against both.
Right.
It's going to be against the health law because you don't schedule as the way you should be scheduling.
Right.
So you're not giving me an equal treatment before the law,
Mm-hmm.
and you're not justifying it.
Right.
Definition of the 2 elements for discrimination.
Right.
Differentiated treatment within the law, ¿no? Tratos de espacios compartidos en igualdad.
Right.
En igualdad, equal treatment. No? So basically, if you can light up, why can't I light up?
Right. Yeah.
Especially if my substance is less dangerous than yours.
Right.
And
Right.
mine is medicine and yours isn't.
Right.
The other thing is basically, I kind of lost it, but what was the other thing was like, lost it. I'll come back.
That's okay.
But,
that's okay. I have over a page of notes already.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
But thanks. Hope you can get the word out. It'll be good to see.
Yeah, I will. I'll let you know as soon as
I look over something like from a human rights perspective, and let me know.
Sure, I will.
I'll try and see.
All right. Thanks so much, Pepe. Have a wonderful day. Talk soon.
You too. Take care.